Good evening, everybody. This is Pastor Green. Welcome to our weekly Bible study. We're so elated to have you with us tonight. We're beginning our lesson tonight at 2 Samuel chapters 16, 17, and 18. Some very interesting stuff. I say that about all of it, and it is. And we will just go ahead and all right. Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to stand before your people one more time and share the unadulterated word of God. So we ask you for clarity of mind and thought that we may comprehend and apprehend these great truths, that your children might grow and learn and thrive and be drawn closer to each other and closer to you. So we dive into this. Open up our minds, open up our hearts, that we might receive from you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So here we are. 2 Samuel, beginning at the 16th chapter. And we come into a very interesting story. David and Ziba. Some interesting things have happened. Now, David has been, his son Absalom has orchestrated a coup. David had to flee the city, and now he didn't flee the city because he was scared of his son. He knew that his son would be so reckless, and he loved the city so much that he would rather, if it's going to be a war, if it's going to be a civil war, don't let it stop happen in Jerusalem. You know, some folk will tear it up if they can't have their way. We see that playing out right here in our own nation, where some people would rather tear things up, would rather rip the Constitution apart than to abide by it. So they would just tear it up. So they want to tear up. Absalom would just as soon just tear up everything then so that he could have his way, but David loved the city too much. And so David has left the city, has abandoned the city, basically vacated the throne, vacated the capital. He did what Bashir Assad did when the rebels came to Damascus and ran him out of there. He did what the Shah of Iran did when the Revolutionary Guard came and he got on a plane and ended up in Mexico. We see rulers abdicate their thrones and flee their thrones and run for safety all the time. When a coup or a revolution takes place and the king is deposed by pretenders. So in this case, David was opposed by his own son Absalom, and David has fled the city. And David and his family and all the folk who were closest to him, those who were loyal to him, they went with him. They left the city. They crossed the Jordan River. They went to a place of safety, and but they had to leave in a hurry. So there was this man by the name of Ziba. Y'all remember Ziba? Ziba was the one who was in charge of taking care of Mephibosheth when David remembered Mephibosheth, who was the son of Jonathan, and David said that, is there anybody left in the house of, uh, from the house of Saul? And it was reminded of him that there was a man by the name of Mephibosheth who was lame on his feet. And Mephibosheth came to David, and he sat at the king's table. And Ziba was ordered, him and his sons were ordered to be servants of Mephibosheth, that they would take care of the needs of Mephibosheth, who was the last surviving heir of King Saul. And David was looking out for, David did not want to bring his hand against the house of Saul. He would not do it. He wouldn't let nobody else do it. He said, I'm going to let God take care of Saul. So here David and Ziba. And when David was, let me see, what version am I using here? This looks okay. I'm going to King James. And David was a little past the top of the hill. Behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of asses saddled, and upon them 200 loaves of bread, and 100 bunches of raisins, and 100 of summer fruits, and a bottle of wine. And the king said unto Ziba, what meanest thou by these things? And Ziba said, the asses be for the king's household to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine that such as be faint in the wilderness may drink. And the king said, where is thy master's son? And Ziba said unto him, behold, he abideth at Jerusalem, for he said, today shall the house of Israel restore me the kingdom of my father. Then said the king to Ziba, behold, thine are all that pertain that to Mephibosheth. Behold, thine are all that pertaineth unto Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, I humbly beseech thee that I may find grace in thy sight, O Lord, my king. Let me stop right there. What did Ziba do? What was Ziba doing? Ziba was dropping larceny on Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth didn't, in fact, Ziba lied to Mephibosheth. We're going to find that out in a few verses. Ziba lied to Mephibosheth when it was time to go. See, Mephibosheth wanted to go and be with David. So Ziba lied to David and told David that Mephibosheth wanted to stay back at Jerusalem because he figured that that Absalom was going to restore to him the things that belonged to him anyway. Well, David had already given it back to him. So Mephibosheth had no part of that, but Mephibosheth got lied to, and Ziba came and brought the stuff. The first thing David saw, David's assumption was that Mephibosheth sent these supplies, and Ziba let David know right off the bat, no, this wasn't Mephibosheth bringing this, this was me. I'm breaking you off. I'm looking out for you, king, because Mephibosheth wanted to stay back with the folk who done overthrew you. And that's how that jumped off. That's how it started. Now, right here, verse 5, as David was steady leaving, he ran into a man by the name of Shimei. Shimei, that was his name. Let me see, look like one. This is when you need to be using a paper Bible. This stuff will stick it on you. Yeah, sometimes you need the technology work when good when it's working, but when it want to go and do its thing, Okay. I'm going to open up another Bible there so I can. This page, my page don't want to move, y'all. Apologize about this. Okay. Okay, and when King David came to Bahurim, behold, there came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came forth and cursed still as he came, and he cast stones at David, and all the servants of King David, and all the people and all the mighty men were on the right hand and on the left. Thus said Shimei when he cursed, come out, thou bloody man, thou man of Belial. The Lord hath returned upon thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord hath delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son. And behold, thou art taken in thy mischief, because thou art a bloody man. Boy, look at him. I mean, he is really laying it on thick. He is laying it on thick, and he is really cussing. He's putting a West Texas cussing on David, telling David that you got this coming to you, because you done what you did to the house of Saul. You got it coming. The Lord is showing the Lord is punishing you. And let me tell you something. David understood that this was a divine message. David understood that what was happening to him happened to him because of what he did with Uriah the Hittite's wife and Uriah. This is the punishment that David had coming for taking the life of Uriah the Hittite and taking Uriah's wife. David understood that. David knew that this was not a happenstance. David had sinned badly. God had promised David all kinds of things. But David, let me tell you, even when we may have God's blessing on our lives. Okay, there it is. We may have God's blessing on our lives, but we can still mess up. We can still hurt the heart of God with some of our behavior. We still God's children, but we can still let God down. And I know I'm not the only one who done let God down at times. I'm going to try my best not to ever do it again, but I know I have in the past. When a believer backslides, a believer says something impulsively, we do some stuff that dishonors the name of God, and we have folks shaking their head at us. But folks love to say, and he's supposed to be a Christian. They love to tell you that when they catch you wrong. In verse 12, and it may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction, and the Lord will requite me good for his curse in this day. And as David and his men went by the way, Shimei went along on the hillside against him, and cursed as he went, and threw stones at him, and cast dust. And the king and all the people that were with him came weary and refreshed themselves there. So David just took it. David could have had him killed, and his men wanted him to just go, hey, want me to put a blade on him? Want me to cut his head off? David said, no, let him curse me. I got it coming. His curse is the curse of God. God sent him to curse me. At least God didn't kill me. David understood that this was all the providence of God. Now, we should get here at verse 15. Verse 15 through the end of the chapter talks about how Absalom entered Jerusalem. And Absalom and all the people of the men of Israel came to Jerusalem, and Ahitophel was with him. Now let me tell y'all about Ahitophel. Ahitophel was the counselor. He was like the chief of staff of the king. Whenever he spoke, the king listened. He would follow the advice of the king. Ahitophel, whenever the devil, there's a pair of evil folk, the evil does not, he never work by himself. He always have a cohort. Just like in the book of Revelation, the Antichrist had the false prophet. The Antichrist had the false prophet. Just like Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, well, Absalom had Ahithophel. But Ahithophel used to be the counselor of David. And whenever Ahithophel came to David and told David something significant, David paid attention to the counsel of Ahithophel, because Ahithophel usually gave good counsel. What Ahithophel usually did, whatever he said, usually made sense. Zion, are you paying attention? Are we on the right chapter 16? Okay. And Absalom and all the people and the men of Israel came, and in verse 16, and it came to pass when Hushai, the Archite, David's friend, was come unto Absalom, and Hushai said unto Absalom, God save the king, God save the king. Now, whenever you go, Hushai, the scripture telling us, Hushai was the friend of David. But here he is in Jerusalem, where Absalom is on the throne. And Absalom said to Hushai, is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why wentest thou not out with thy friend? He said, how come you not with David? And Hushai said unto Absalom, nay, for whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his will I be. I will be, and with him will I abide. And again, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son, as I have served in thy father's presence? So will I be in thy presence. Now, basically what Hushai is saying, I serve at the pleasure of the king. If the king is gone, I'll serve the next king. Basically, my vow is to the people, and whoever the people serving is, that's who I serve. Whoever God chooses is the one I'm going to serve. In other words, what he is saying, my loyalty is to the Constitution and to the office, so I'm going to serve whoever's sitting in the office. Now, if the 47th president can understand that those unelected civil servants, they serve the nation. It does not matter to them who is the commander in chief. They're going to serve they serving the people, and that's basically what Hushai said. Okay, if you're in charge now, then I serve you. If God chose you to be the king, then by God, I'm going to serve you. Now, Hushai got his own. He's basically being a double agent at this point. But Absalom don't know that. And again, whom shall I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in thy father's presence, so will I be in thy presence. Then said Absalom to Ahithophel, give counsel among you what we shall do. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which he had left to keep the house, and all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy fathers. Then shall the hand of all that are with thee be strong. Basically what he is saying is, your daddy left these 10 concubines in the house. Go and lay with all of them and do it publicly and let everybody know that you have just taken over everything that your daddy had. And you're going to embarrass your daddy. So they spread Absalom the tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. Boy, that was nasty there. And the counsel of Ahitophel, which he had counseled in those days, was if a man had inquired at the oracle of God, so was all the counsel of Ahitophel, both with David and Absalom. So the counsel of Ahitophel was something very respected. If Ahitophel gave you a strategy, if you followed that strategy, it's probably going to work. So they treated the counsel of Ahitophel as if he was an oracle of God. David listened to Ahitophel. Now Absalom is listening to Ahitophel. But remember in chapter 15, when it came to pass that when Absalom did the overthrow and David had to flee, David prayed to God that God would turn the counsel of Ahithophel against him, that it would not be received. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night, and it will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and we will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee, and I will smite the king only." He said, let's go after him, but don't kill nobody but the king. You ain't got to destroy the whole army, because you're going to need the army when you get through. "And I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is if all return, so all the people shall be in peace." And the saying pleased Absalom well and all the elders of Israel. Then said Absalom, "Call now Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear likewise what he said." And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spoke unto him, saying, "Ahithophel has spoken after this manner. Shall we do after this thing? If not, speak thou." So what Absalom is saying, he wants a second opinion, and he wants Hushai's opinion. And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him. Okay. And Hushai said unto Absalom, "The counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. For said Hushai, Thou knowest thy father and his men, that they might be mighty men, and they be chaste in their minds, as a bear robbed of her wealth in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and would not lodge with the people. Behold, he was now hid now in some pit, or in some other place, and it will come to pass, when some of them be overthrown at first, that whosoever heareth it will say, There is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom, and he also that is valiant, whose heart is the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand is by the sea, and thou shalt go into battle in thine own person. So shall we come upon him in some place he might be found, and we shall light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground, and at him and all his men that are with him there shall not be left one as much as one. And what he's saying, don't just kill your daddy. You need to go with overwhelming force and kill everybody. Because if you don't, you're going to have to deal with them. Don't think that they're going to let you kill just your daddy. So you got to kill everybody. That was the counsel of Hushai. Now, but this is what Hushai did. Moreover, if he be getting into the city, then all Israel bring ropes to that city, and then we will draw it into the river until there not be one small stone found thereof. In other words, they're going to tear the walls down and get on in there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, The counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel, for the Lord hath appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. So the idea was, the Lord had reversed the counsel of Ahithophel. Ahithophel gave good counsel, but Absalom's mind was disturbed because he was demon possessed. So God had sent him another counsel, so he would not listen to the counsel of Ahithophel. Then said Hushai to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, Thus and thus did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus have I counseled. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up, and all the people that are with him. Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz stayed by in Rogel, that they might not be seen to come into the city. And the wench went and told him, and they went and told King David. Nevertheless, a lad saw them and told Absalom. But when both of them went quickly and came to the man's house at Bahurim, which had a well in his court, whither they went down, and the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth, and spread ground corn thereon, and the thing was not known. And when Absalom's servant came to the woman to the house, they said, where is Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said unto them, they be gone over the brook of water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. And it came to pass that after they departed, they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto David, arise, pass quickly over the water, for thus hath Ahitophel counseled against you. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan by the morning light. There lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan. And when Ahitophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and rose and got home to his house, to his city, and put his household in order, and hanged himself, and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. When Ahithophel's counsel was not listened to, Ahithophel killed himself. Because he figured that when David get back in power, he was going to kill him. He didn't want to fall into his hands. And he knew that he had betrayed David. He knew he had it coming. And David arose and came to Mahanaim, and Absalom passed over Jordan, he and all his men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab. When Amasa was a man's son, whose name was Ithra the Israelite, that went him in to Abigail the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. So Israel and Absalom pitched at the land of Gilead. And it came to pass, when David came to Mahanaim, that the Shobai the son of Nahash of Rabah of the children of Ammon, and Machir the son of Amiel of Lodebar, and Barzillai the Gileadite of Rogelim, bought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and flour and parched corn and beans and lentils and parched pulse and honey and butter and sheep and cheese of wine for David and for the people that were with him to eat. For they said, the people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. And as it turned out, Barzillai came to the rescue of the people. Hushai saved David and the people. So when Absalom came to kill him, they weren't there. They were able to get out of Dodge, and they were able to avoid the ambush. So Hushai saved David by being a double agent. Okay, now what are we going to learn from that? You can't tell. If somebody been loyal to a person for a long time, and it looked like they turning sides, you might want to hedge your bets on that one. But you see, Ahithophel's counsel had been countered by God. So God was going to make sure that his counsel was nullified. That's why he sent the counsel of Abishai. Abishai was there to save David. David's destiny was secure. David had to go through some stuff because he's seeing God told him that turmoil was going to be in your house all of the days. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to take the kingdom from you, but you're going to always have problems while you're doing this, because this is the repercussions of your sin with Bathsheba. God forgave him, but the consequences of his action Even though God forgave him, God allowed this to happen. The trouble gonna stay in your house. That's the curse. You get to keep the kingdom, but it's gonna always be a struggle. You shed a lot of blood, and it's gonna always be a struggle. Now that brings us to chapter 18. So here the battle comes, and Absalom is David's son, the usurper, the one who orchestrated the coup. Absalom's going to get killed. Now check this out. And David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. And David sent forth a third part of the people unto the hand of Joab, and a third part unto the hand of Abishai the son of Zeruiah, and Joab's brother, and a third part unto the hand of Ittai the Gittite. And the king said unto the people, I will surely go forth with you myself also. Now let me tell you what happened here. They did not want David to go into the fight. They said, David, not this time. We need you to stay back. If something happened to you, if something happened to us, you can always recruit some more soldiers. But when something happened to you, the kingdom is lost. So we don't want you going back to the fight. And the people answered, said, Thou shalt not go forward, for if we flee away, they will not care for us. Neither if half of us die, they will not care for us. But now thou art worth 10,000 of us, therefore now it is better that thou succor out of the city. We don't want you getting in the fight, David. We'll do the fight and you stay back. Normally David would have been the main one on the front line, but he's listening to the counsel of his soldiers. It is good to listen to the counsel of your soldiers. When they got your back, listen to them. Don't try to do it all yourself. We got to learn how to do that. A leader that tries to take on all the tasks and not utilize the skills of his people is really asking for trouble. If you got the people that are willing to do the work, you let them do it. You don't try to do it all. And the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Deal gently for my sake with the young man, even with Absalom. And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains charge concerning Absalom. He said, Go ahead and do the fight, but y'all bring him in alive. Don't kill him. David did not want his son to be killed, even though his son was trying to kill him. His son was trying to kill him, but David did not want to kill his son. Just like when King Saul was trying to kill David, David did not want to kill King Saul. That's just how David was. David said, in his own mind, you are God's anointed, and I am not going to kill you. Your death is not going to be on me. So the people went out into the field against Israel, and the battle was in the wood of Ephraim, where the people of Israel were slain before the servants of David. And there was a great slaughter that day, 20,000 men. For the battle was there scattered over the face of all the country, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. And Absalom met the servants of David, and Absalom rode upon a mule, and his mule went under a thick bough of great oak, and his head was caught in the oak, and he was taken up between the heaven and the earth, and the mule that was under him went away. Now y'all remember that Absalom got this big old head full of hair. You can imagine somebody with a head full of dreads, and he's running through these thick oak trees, and his hair dangling, and he ran through, and his head got caught in the bushes, and the mule kept going, but he hanging up in the air by his head, by his hair. His hair is tangled in the bushes. That had to be a funny sight, but that's what happened to him. See, Absalom was so vain about his hair. He had these long locks of beautiful hair, and he is stuck in the tree by his hair. He's hanging off the ground. His feet can't grab the ground, and he's stuck in a tree. And his hair is tangled in the bushes. And a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, Behold, I saw Absalom hanging in an oak tree. And Joab said to the man that told him, and behold, thou sawest him. Why did not thou smite him there to the ground? And I would have given thee 10 shekels of silver and a girdle. Joab wanted him dead because Joab was loyal to David, and David, as far as Joab was concerned, he deserved to die for what he tried against the king, his father. Joab was loyal to David, and David said, "Don't kill him." But Joab wanted him dead. Otherwise, I would walk. And the man said to Joab, "Though I should receive 1,000 shekels of silver in mine hand, yet would I not put forth mine hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king charged thee, Abishai and Ittai, saying, Beware that none touch the young man Absalom." He said, "Y'all bring him in alive. Otherwise, I would have wrought falsehood against mine own life. For there is no matter hid from the king. Thou thyself should have set thyself against me." Then said Joab, "I may not tarry thus with thee." And he took 3 darts in his hand and thrust them through the heart of Absalom, and while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak. And 10 young men that bare Joab's armor compassed about him and smote Absalom and slew him. And Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from the pursuing after Israel, but Joab held back the people. And they took Absalom and cast him into a great pit in the wood, and laid a very great heap of stones upon him, and all Israel fled, one to his tent. Now, when you hear them say Israel and Judah, when they're talking about Israel, they're talking about the northern kingdom, because all of Judah had sided with David, and they fled Jerusalem. So these were the men of Israel from the northern kingdoms that had sided with Absalom. So half of them fled. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and reared up for himself a pillar, which was in the king's dale, for he said, "I have no son to keep my name in remembrance." And he called the pillar after his own name, and it is called unto this day Absalom's place. Verse 19. And then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, "Let me now run and bear the king's tidings, how that the Lord hath avenged him of his enemies." And Joab said unto him, "Thou shalt not bear the tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. But this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead." Then said Joab to Cushai, "Go tell the king what thou hast seen." And Cushai bowed himself unto Joab and ran. Then said Ahimaaz the son of Zadok yet again to Joab, "But howsoever, let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushai." And Joab said, "Wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready?" I don't want you telling that. That's basically what he is saying. I don't want you to be the one to tell David that his son is dead. But however, he said, "Let me run, and he said unto me, Run. Tell Ahimaaz." Then Ahimaaz ran away by the way of the plain and overran Cushai. Now let me tell you a little something about Ahimaaz. Ahimaaz was really fast, and he had one of them strides like Usain Bolt. And you knew it when you saw him. You saw a bunch of men running. You can tell him by his stride, because nobody else run like him. The man who carried the message, that messenger, you can tell by the gait of the messenger what the tiding is going to be. And David sat between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof over the gate, over the wall, and lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running along. And the watchman cried and told the king, and the king said, "If he be alone, there is a tidings in his mouth." And he came apace and drew near, and the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called unto the porter and said, "Behold, another man running along." And the king said, "He also bringeth tidings." And the watchman said, "He thinketh the running of the fourth foremost is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, he is a good man and cometh with good tidings. And Ahimaaz called and said unto the king, all is well. And he fell down to the earth before the king. And he said, blessed be the Lord thy God, for he hath delivered up the man that lifted up his hand against my lord the king. And the king said, is the young man Absalom safe? And Ahimaaz answered, when Joab sent the king's servant, and me thy servant, I saw a great tumult, but I knew not what it was. Now, at this point, Ahimaaz is lying to King David, because Joab told him, don't you tell him what happened. Tell him you didn't see. You just let them know that things went well with the war. But then, behold, Cushai came, and Cushai said, tidings, my lord, the king, for the Lord hath avenged thee this day of all the men that rose up against thee. And the king said to Cushai, is the young man Absalom safe? And Cushai answered, the enemies of my lord the king, and all that rise against thee, do hurt thee, be as that young man is. And the king was very much moved, and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, thus he said, O my son Absalom, my son, O my son Absalom, would God I had died for thee, O Absalom, my son, my son. And that's how this chapter ends. And I want y'all to put a pin in this. And when Absalom died, David said, I wish it had been me. And at this point, Joab, his general, lost respect of David. And when we get to 1 Kings, I want you to put a pin in this. David put his son before the nation. See, we can't put our personal feelings ahead of our duty. We may have our personal feeling that tell us to do one thing, but you got to do right by your people. You can't have no enemies list. There's a big difference between a great leader and a good leader. A great leader put his duty ahead of his feelings. When at the end of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln made a pledge not to take vengeance against the South and invite them back to the Union as if they had never left. Now that wasn't the same thing for them generals that went up against them. They killed them. A whole bunch of them got executed. But the people were welcomed back into to the nation. There was no enemies list. That's how David was. But when we get to chapter 19 next time, we're going to pick up chapters 19, 20, and 21. We're going to see some things take fold that were very interesting things. Now, let's kind of unpack all this. What do we learn? When God is for you, even when he chastises you, you still want to hear it. But we got to take it on, we got to take that whipping. When we make bad mistakes, the consequences of our actions are not going to be reversed just because we're children of God. All them baby mamas that David had caused him problems. David's problem was because he indulged his children. He had so many baby mamas, so many children from different mamas, he tried to overcompensate with each child. And you can't do that. You cannot indulge the weaknesses of your children. It will come back to haunt you. So when they started trying to usurp his rule, usurp his reign, you can see it coming. When your children got these issues, you got to deal with it. That's the lesson for the church today. That's the lesson for America today. We wonder what's wrong with this generation. Y'all need to pull a strap out and put some whoop onto them behind when we see these bad behaviors popping up. Because if you let it slide, it will ruin them. If you know you got a child that is gluttonous, you gotta stop them from eating too much. If you know you got a child that is subject to steal, one of your children that stole out your pocketbook, you got to deal with that. Because that child's going to be robbing banks one day. You got to nip this stuff in the bud. Now you got these baby mamas, different. Your one son done because you are indulging your children. When you see one of your sons making Google eyes at his stepsister, at his half sister, you got to nip that in the bud. Otherwise, he's gonna try something later. Because people are people and men are men and young boys are boys, and if you don't deal with it, they're going to do something that's going to cause embarrassment to the family. So you have to nip certain behaviors in the bud. And that's the message for the people today. You can't just let them do anything. Now, as far as you remember Shimei, who cursed David. David knew that he was under divine punishment. So when Shimei cursed him, he knew that was God's way. That was part of the punishment for his untoward behavior, his behavior that made him think that it was okay to have relations with Bathsheba and kill that caused her to get pregnant. He caused the death of Uriah, and the death of Uriah was on David's hands. His blood was on his hands, and God held him accountable. He's still God's man, but God held him accountable. God is going to hold you accountable for the stuff you do. You're still God's man, but you're going to wear it. So your best bet is to do right all the time. Walk circumspect in your deportment. Don't be so easy to just mess up. And that's just the way it is. Okay, so we're going to pick up at chapter 19 next time. Now, this coming Sunday, we're going to have a guest preacher. My good friend, Elder Marvin Alls from Mount Zion Tabernacle Christian Church. He's going to be the guest preacher at 7474 West Colonial Drive at the Holiday Inn Express. Now, we've been invited to do the last 7 sayings of Christ at Pastor Cason's church at I'm having a brain lock. What's brain fart, y'all? You didn't have one of them times you've had a brain fart. In Apocrypha. What's Pleasant View Missionary Baptist Church. I'm supposed to remember that many times I've been there. Pleasant View Missionary Baptist Church in Apocrypha. It'll be at 7 o'clock, I'm thinking. I think it's going to be 7 o'clock on Good Friday. We're going to have a program, the last 7 sayings of Christ. I'll do one of the sayings. So we want the whole church to come out and be a blessing and just fill the place up. But we should have a good time in the Lord that night. Next Wednesday night, 7:30, we pick it up at chapter 19 at 2 Samuel. And just a couple more weeks in 2 Samuel, then we'll be going into 1 Kings. So we're going to see y'all next time. Now, if somebody want to give to the ministry, you may do so. You can put that on the screen there. Zion, look up. When you If you want to give to the ministry, you may do so using Zelle or Cash App, $, Green WL, Zelle 689-246-5892. We can give any gift of any amount, be greatly appreciated. Just help us keep the lights on, keep the rent in the place, and so we can have a place to worship every Sunday. Here at the house we do Zoom and Facebook Live with the Bible study, so we're good to go here. But any gift of any amount be greatly appreciated. Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege of standing before your people one more time, sharing the good news. So we ask you right now, Lord, to continue to bless the works of our hand, touch our eyes that we might see your glory, touch our hands that we might do the work that you have set before us, touch our lips that we might praise your name, but most of all, Lord, touch our hearts that we might receive from you. Forgive us of our sin, that our prayers are not hindered, and let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Let's keep our loved ones lifted up in prayer. Keep Daisy lifted up in prayer. Keep my friend Diane Alls lifted up in prayer. She's dealing with health issues. Let's keep my cousin Helen Wise lifted up in prayer. She deals with her health issues. There's a lot of sick folk out there that need us to be praying. So let's, and today was Virgil's birthday. I'll give him a happy birthday shout out to Virgil. We'll know what how he took the bar exam last week, and we're praying that it's going to come back with a good report. So we're just going to keep him, and you know, I know he can pass it. Let's just hope that he did. And I know that if he didn't do it this time, he'll take it next time and pass. But I long for the day when I get to say my son a lawyer. So we're going to see y'all next time. Now unto him who is able to keep us from falling, present us faultless before his throne, with exceeding great joy, the only true and wise God, with glory and majesty, dominion and power, now and forever. And all of God's people said amen. We'll see y'all next time.